Thank you so much. Yes, I am Juliette Burton, but before I tell you a bit about myself, I'm actually going to throw it open to you guys because I've been listening in backstage and you seem very chatty, which I'm quite a fan of. So I would like you, please, to shout out any words. I'm looking for 5 words in total. Any words that you're thinking of when you look at me right now. Any words. Go. Oh, you are chatty. God, I heard about 5 pinks. Pinks? It's very literal. That is a colour. Well done. Pink. Sparkly. Brilliant. I'm going to write these down because my memory... Oh, hang on. Oh, isn't it a great time when your pen stops working? Right, here we go. Pink, sparkly. I'm going to write it down on paper. Pink, sparkly. Was that yes? And was somebody said working. Quirky. Quirky. Not working. Also working. Thank you very much. Or working it. Pink, sparkly, quirky. Anyone else? Loud. I heard funny. I love a reviewer in. Brilliant. Haven't even said anything yet. Lovely. And someone else? Loud. That is a microphone. Oh, if you think this is loud, there's a bit coming up later on you're going to love. Okay, right. Do you know what? I wrote microphone. I didn't write loud. I wrote microphone. Oh, okay, wonderful. Pink, sparkly, quirky, funny, not microphone, loud. Okay, lovely. Interesting that you chose, I said, what do you see when you look at me? And you said loud, which is great. I mean, maybe it's the colours that I'm wearing. So thank you very much for those compliments. We'll come back to those later on. Let me tell you a bit about myself. The most important things, first off, is I know that often when comedians come on stage and they talk, and often they might have like a funny accent, like West Country or like Scottish or, something, or Northern accent. I know that my accent doesn't make me funny. My accent makes me a lawyer. I'm from Cambridge, which is the blandest accent that there possibly could ever be. And by the way, I love my hometown of Cambridge, but in Cambridge, the audiences don't laugh. I don't know why this is. Apparently, they'll tell me after the gigs there that they thought it was the funniest thing that they've ever seen in their entire lives, but they just didn't tell their faces. I can only assume that they were writing a thesis during the gig about hilarity and the meaning of funniness, but no. So basically, the moral of that story is, let's not be Cambridge, okay? Good. Yes, what else can I tell you about myself? I'm a farmer's daughter. I come from a long line of farmers. My dad was a farmer. His dad was a farmer. My mum's dad was a farmer. My sister married a farmer. All 4 of my nephews, all of them want to be farmers. My uncle is a porn star. Sorry, my uncle is a farmer. Mispronounced that, farmer. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not a farmer. No. I have tried dating farmers, because apparently that is the option for women. I have tried dating farmers, but I honestly find them as dull as the pig shit that they shovel. And no offence to any farmers in. Do we have any farmers in tonight? No, they never come. What time is it? Yeah, 7:15. They are in bed. Got to get up early to milk the cows. That's not my dad's accent, but I just enjoy doing it. So yes, I'm a farmer's daughter. My sister, she's the golden child, right? My sister, she married a farmer and has had 4 boys, which my dad said to me, "Oh, Juliette, your sister, look at her. When she was 27, she had 4 children, all of them boys. That's one woman making 4 men, Juliette. That's worthwhile, isn't it? That's just maths." But no, I've chosen a different career. I actually work in comedy now, which I will come on to a little bit later on. And yes, what else can I tell you about myself? I do this thing with my gigs and my audiences. I really want my audiences to like me, which is shocking for a comedian, and a woman. I often do this thing called mirroring. Have you guys heard of mirroring? Yeah. So it's this thing that psychologically, if anyone doesn't know, where if you're on a date with someone, for example, and you want them to fancy you, clearly this is what I think this is, then you'll mirror their body language, like if I were to try to flirt with you, sir, then I would be manspreading like that. And you're doing a kind of, that's interesting. You're doing that at the moment, and now you're doing this. That's, what are you trying to tell me, sir? Hands where I can see them. And now you're in love with me. Do you see how that works? But usually with my audiences, I kind of see you all as this one beautiful, brand new friend, one entity, which to me you are. It's not reductive. You are all individuals and all that stuff. But to me, you're all one big, lovely new friend and family. So I kind of see you as a whole, and I try to mirror the shape of my audiences. You guys are actually quite nicely spread out evenly, kind of symmetrically. A few empty seats on the front row. Oh, interesting. We'll come back to that later. But yeah, I had this one gig, right, where there was a really weird shape in the audience. Like, there was loads of people down here and then all across the front row. So it was like a weird L shape. So I ended up kind of doing my whole gig in a kind of weird yoga pose. I mean, the gig did not go well, but my chakras have never been better. And I also do this thing called mimicking to try to be liked as well. Mimicking as well, yes, people have heard of that. You seem like a very intelligent crowd. Mimicking? Yeah, so that's when like you go to a new place and you hear their dialect or something, and you kind of mimic their accent to try to be accepted by their tribe, you know. So for me, that means that when I'm gigging in Scotland, I sound a little bit Scottish. When I'm gigging in Manchester, I sound a little bit Mancunian. And when I'm gigging in my hometown of Cambridge, I sound bored. Yes, I do all this to try to be liked, and this is something I'm going to come back to later on. My comedy career, that's obviously a lovely magazine. We'll come back to that as well. Who am I? Yes, that's my website. You can join my mailing list. Ooh, look, mailing list. Have a look at the website later on. Do, not right now. I'm talking. What else about me? Oh, that's me on the BBC. Oh, I did stuff on the TV. Ooh, silence. That's fine. You are still a little bit more impressed than my actual parents. So that's good. Oh, marry a farmer, Juliette. Right. Lots of lovely reviews. Look, the Times and the Mirror and other people have said lovely things. This is not for you. This is just to remind me that this nice things have happened. And yes, I sold out at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2015. I sold out at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2016. And 2017, can you see where this is going? I also sold out in 2018. And I love patterns, so I've got to keep it up. So yes, I have done lots of different shows. This is a show that I've just been touring around the UK. It's called Butterfly Effect, and it was all about the power of kindness, which is very in keeping with tonight. The show before that is Decision Time, about decisions. The show before that, I didn't warn you, that is me in my underwear. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm unapologetically awesome. That is me in my underwear, because this show was a show all about whether our appearances affect who we are. And it was about body confidence, which is, funnily enough, body image is the theme of this week's Mental Health Awareness Week. So, why would I do a show about body confidence? Well, I haven't always looked the way that I look right now. And before I show you how I used to look, I just want to drop a little hint. I don't know if you can tell by my accent, but I do have mental health conditions. People aren't ever sure whether to laugh at that one. And I was sitting there going like, are you allowed to laugh? Was that a joke? Should we call someone? And please do call someone, but call live at the Apollo. No, I'm fine. I will get on to how fine I am. I have got genuinely mental health conditions, and I have quite a few. I feel like now that we've mentioned it, you could probably also tell by my T-shirt, just wearing it out there on my sleeve or on my chest. We've probably been trying to guess, right, when you saw me walk on stage, what possible mental health conditions could this have? So I'm going to try and make this fun for you, okay? I've invented a new game. Okay. Get your bingo scorecards at the ready as we play. Woohoo! It's Juliette's list of labels. Woohoo! I'm trying to make mental health fun. Okay, let's see how many of my mental health conditions you guessed correctly that I have. Okay, so in my lifetime, I have been diagnosed with the following, okay? Here we go. Anorexia, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, body dysmorphic disorder, bulimia, bipolar disorder, it's worth saying twice because there's two parts. Also, compulsive overeating disorder, depression, and completing this list, which, because of this final condition, for the most observant of you will have already noticed, this list has to be organised alphabetically. I also have obsessive-compulsive disorder. And that is why these seats are freaking me out right now. Honestly, like, why, people at the back, I love you to pieces, but why, there are empty seats. My OCD is all about, like, symmetry and, okay, focused on the lovely people, not the screaming voices in my head. Good. I have lots of different mental health conditions, and I'm often asked, Juliette, which is your favourite? And I have to reply, no, I couldn't possibly pick a favourite. Oh no, I mean, to me, they're all like children, in that I hate them all. Okay. Yes, I have got quite a few different mental health conditions that I talk about in my shows, and I've done it for many, many years. And I like to talk about it with my comedy, because for me, I find that it's a way of finding the light. Like, comedy is a way of finding the light in the darkness for me. Like, when your mind can take you to dark places, it's vital to seek out the light. And that is why I am convinced that most moths suffer from clinical depression. But I've done lots of shows, and I get people come up to me afterwards, and I constantly ask the same questions again and again and again. So feel free to ask me questions afterwards. We're going to do a Q&A, but I'm just going to get the most common ones out of the way, just so that we can move on to the more interesting ones. I'm often asked, Juliette, isn't mental health just attention-seeking? Oh, no. Mental illness is not attention-seeking. This is. I'm often asked also, Juliette, your illnesses, they sound awful. Oh, do you blame your parents? No, I do not blame my parents. I blame the Tories, which is a nickname I have given to my parents. No, I don't blame my parents, because I find this whole idea of blaming someone else for your feelings or your conditions, it's not very empowering. Like, I actually find it a part of my recovery to take responsibility for my conditions and responsibility for my emotions. And plus, everything in life is a two-way street, isn't it? Like, even this gig. So if you're not enjoying it, it's not entirely my fault. Bear that in mind. So yes, what else can I tell you about my mental illness? I have been lots of different appearances and different bodies in the past as well. I've been in therapy for a very, very long time. I've actually been in therapy for well over half my life. And so you're probably trying to guess how old I am. Go on, sir, guess. 11 years old? That is what I am in here, my darling. No, I was not this developed when I was 11. No, thank you very much. 11. Actually, that's very, very kind. I'm actually 34 years old. Yes, thank you very much. I have lived to an age which makes me, 34 makes me kind of pretty young for a professor, but old for a baby. I'm also, I keep getting ID'd. I still get ID'd, aged 34. Still get ID'd when I buy wine. And it's the most brilliant thing in the world. I love it. I know that all my friends are getting mortgages and having marriages and babies and stuff, but I am taking getting ID'd as a life achievement, okay? Plus, I have really, honestly, I've sacrificed about 10 years, a decade of my life upon the altar of mental illness. So, I mean, if anything, I think we can all agree that at best I'm 24. And if you disagree, that is mental health discrimination. So, yes, I'm going to tell you about these different bodies I've been in. So, I haven't always looked this way. There was a time when I used to look like this. Now, this is me when I was 17 years old. So I was very underweight at the time. I was a size 4, size 0 in America. That's what size 0 was. And I was very ill with anorexia. I weighed about 34 kilograms. That's about 4 stone if you work in old money. It's not about the numbers, though. Got to stress that. It's not about the numbers. My tax, income, and insurance and stuff is about numbers. I must remember to do that. But not this. No, I was actually sectioned under the Mental Health Act when I was 17 because I was a month away from dying of anorexia. Yeah, I spent my 18th birthday sectioned under the Mental Health Act in hospital. I mean, my sister, she spent her 18th birthday drunk under a table in Wetherspoons. I think on reflection, I actually had the better venue. I had decent food in there. So yes, I was very ill for a really long time. And apparently there was a survey done recently of 11 to 17-year-old girls in the Western world. And apparently they would rather be thinner than happy or successful. I mean, success is a difficult thing to think about anyway, because, to be honest, I have a little motto I live by in life. My motto, take this away with you today, this is going to help you manage your life. I never fail, I either win or I learn. I think that's a wonderful motto, isn't it? It's wonderful, although I do feel like I have learned quite a lot. I wouldn't mind swapping a couple of the knowledge for some of the wins. So yes, I was, these girls, they want to be thinner rather than being successful or happy. And it got me thinking, because surely, like, a lot of the industries out there, like fashion industries and advertising industries, they're gradually changing. But for years, for decades, for centuries, millennia, they have told women that the best thing we can possibly do with our lives is to be thinner. Like, it doesn't matter if I were the first woman to walk on the moon, still hasn't happened, or the first woman to invent a cure for cancer, or if I were a woman who was on Twitter who didn't have to get every single tweet mansplained by somebody to them. Honestly, men are always trying to tell me what to do. They really are. The other day, this guy, he had a go at me simply for stealing his car. Patriarchal nincompoop. Yes, I understand that women want to be thinner, but I would love it if we were released from those chains, those bonds of negative self-image, and maybe we could achieve more with our lives. So yes, I was that size. I then went about a year later from this to this. Now this is me at a size 20. Now, before I go any further, I have to stress that there are women who wear a size 20 and they wear it beautifully. Do we have any Mad Men fans in here? Anyone a fan of Mad Men, you know, the TV series? Yes. Wonderful. I have the politest audiences. I love it. They put their hands up instead of cheering. I should have been a teacher. My parents were right. No, I love it. You're very Cambridge. Well done. I love Mad Men. Do you know Christina Hendricks off of Mad Men? Yeah, oh, she's a big woman, isn't she? She rocks those curves, though. She, in Mad Men, right, she looks like she's about to sleep with every man in the office and then take their job. Do we all know Rebel Wilson, Queen Latifah? Yeah, and I've been getting really into this artist called Lizzo recently. Oh, all these women, they have curves and they're so confident. I wish I was that confident. Like, for me, I don't feel that confident. I get really angry with myself about that. But as a woman, I've been taught that I shouldn't be angry. You know, men are told that you're not allowed to be sad, and women are told that they're not allowed to be angry. And I just feel so absolutely fine about that, absolutely fine and dandy. Yes, so I went from a size 4 to a size 20 in about 6 months because of compulsive overeating disorder. That is a little known other eating disorder. It's kind of less glamorized. People don't seem to talk about it as much as anorexia or bulimia. And yeah, for me, I think that it really kept me trapped. It was kind of the flip side of the same coin for me. It was kind of still me being obsessed by food and still trying to numb my feelings. Just one was by starvation and one was by losing myself within overeating, much like an alcoholic would with alcohol. Even when I looked healthy and well and normal, for want of a better word, there's no such thing, secret code. No, there's no such thing as normal, but even when I looked like I was in a body that fitted, a body that felt like me. I felt like I could achieve stuff in this body. I got down to a size that I kind of felt like it felt strong. But even then, food and I still had a very difficult relationship. Okay, it wasn't quite as difficult as my relationship with, like, all men. Yeah, last year, actually, I had a very difficult relationship with men, mainly because my fiancé told me to stop seeing all of them. Oh, fun sidebar, by the way, a little side note. I was engaged to get married last year. We broke up instead. Thought that would be an excellent thing. But nobody ever congratulates you for not marrying the wrong guy. Apart from the woman in the engagement ring shop when I went to take it back. And I walked away from her. Like, she was like, oh, congratulations for not marrying the wrong guy. I walked out the shop thinking, this is wonderful. She really knows her stuff. She's seen a lot of couples. She must, this is brilliant. I've definitely made the right choice. Hang on a second. She's thinking she's going to get return business. Yes, I did break up with my fiancé. I'm going to tell you, the funnest thing about breaking up with a fiancé is the wedding magazine emails. I still receive them with fun subject headings like, save 50% on wedding favours. Dude, I've already saved 50% on my wedding by cutting out 50% of the couple. I'm having a fun time being single now. I'm dating quite a lot of men, and you can ask my phone numbers later. Honestly, I'm on dating apps at the moment as well. You can find me on social media after the show, but you can also find me on dating apps on Bumble, if you'd like to. If you told me a year ago that I was going to be on dating apps, my wedding planner would have been furious. But here we are. Cool. So, yes, I've been the same girl in very, very different bodies. And comedy for me has helped me a hell of a lot. It's helped me learn so much. And I have been in therapy for well over half my life, for all of my different mental health conditions. I even had a psychosis, so I had audible and visual hallucinations when I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. It was a stress-induced psychosis, so naturally kind of occurred. Most people have that kind of experience when they go to Glastonbury. Me, no, I don't have to be that cool. I have that experience for free. I was actually bulimic in that picture. Didn't mention that. That was the difficult relationship still with food. You can't see, though, because it's hidden. You know, a lot of mental illness is hidden. And I have been in therapy for 16 years now. 34. Half of 34? What's half of 34? 17, which is my age. I've been in therapy for 17 years now. And I will tell you, this is the most important thing that I've ever learned in therapy. Okay, I can take this away with you as well. So much knowledge I'm imparting to you. All therapists have one of two voices. Okay? Genuinely. Either they have a low, deep, kind of calming voice, and they kind of sound like maybe they're trying to soothe you, and Juliette, how does that make you feel? And how does that make you feel? And how does my voice make you feel? Horny, your voice makes me feel horny. Or they have this kind of high-pitched, squeaky, intellectual voice, and it kind of speaking out the corners of their mouths, and kind of almost sounds a little bit like they're drunk, which is very disconcerting, because my current therapist happens to have this actual voice, and I happen to know that she's also in AA. So basically, all therapists either sound like phone sex line workers or Zippy from Rainbow. Very hard to talk to somebody about your depression when they've got a voice like this. Maybe that is how the therapy works. You just get happy by listening to their voice. I don't know. I have been in therapy for a really long time, and it's got me to this point now where I'm doing these shows. And this body confidence show that I mentioned earlier was trying to explore my relationship not only with my body, but also with fashion. Because I'm fully aware that the fashion industry is trying to tell me to look a certain way, but I also love fashion. I mean, hello? Some people would argue this is not fashion, but I think they're wrong. I love bright clothes. I love standing out. I love pink. I love expressing myself through my clothes. So I did this show, and it was called Look at Me. And I got Arts Council funding to mean that I could use prosthetic makeup to change the way that I looked every single day for one dramatic week. It was actually genuinely 5 years ago to this very week, Mental Health Awareness Week, where I filmed with hidden cameras me in these different bodies using prosthetic makeup to see how other people reacted to me, to see how I felt on my inside as well, like where confidence really comes from. That was why I was on the pursuit of confidence, because I hadn't felt confident in my body up to then, and I have been the same girl in very different bodies in real life. So I am now going to show you a little snippet, a little video of the best bits, the highlights of all of those hidden camera things. It's a very technical term. And I'm going to talk you through just the kind of tip of the iceberg of these experiences. So we're going to start off with a sexy day, okay? Just to warn you, bit of shot of an underwear shot again, okay? Ready? Here we go. Okay, so this is sexy day, and this is my look. That is not a real tattoo, if my father is in. So yes, everywhere I went on this particular day, yeah, genuinely, people just kept staring at me. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't acting differently, and yet everywhere, look at this guy. Like, just not not even subtle. Everywhere I went, people were staring at me, both men and women, I have to say. And actually, weirdly, with women, they seemed to have a bit more of a problem than the men. When the women looked at me, I really felt like they hated me. The way, look at these girls, and look at the way that, like, oh, I'm not doing anything, I'm not saying anything to them. Just focus on the women for a second. Oh, hello. Yes, madam, I am wearing lipstick. Thanks for noticing. Oh, here we go. Man Day. This is me as a man. Now, transgender issues are very important, and that's not the point I'm trying to make with this, but I've always wanted to do that. So yes, as a man, what I noticed most of all was the more space I took up, the more convincing I was as a man. It was very odd because as a woman, I've been taught my whole life to take up less physical space, to cross my legs and not spread out. And as a man, got to take up more space. Some things will never change, though. Prosecco, if anyone wants to buy me a drink afterwards, Prosecco. Old day, what a terrifying glimpse into the future. So this is me as an old lady. And yeah, I actually had interviewed lots of people before this day, and a lot of older women that I spoke to said that they felt invisible. They reached a certain age and suddenly they felt like nobody noticed them, even when they got on the bus. And it's me! That lad gave up his seat, total legend. But I realised if no one was looking at me, that maybe might not be such a sad thing, because maybe if no one was looking at me, I could do what I liked. Maybe I could live the life I've always wanted to live. Maybe I could find true love. And maybe I could shake up the expectations we have of older people, and maybe of myself. Day. Okay, so this is me going back to my obese body. Now, I really wanted to be Queen Latifah. I wanted to be Rebel Wilson. I wanted to be Christina Hendricks. I wanted to be that confident, fuller-figured girl. And let's face it, I look amazing in there. I totally would. So I went with this newfound confidence in this bigger body. I went to high street clothing stores to ask them, what is the biggest size you stock? And this particular shop, well, let's not try to mention the names, they said their biggest size was a size 16, not big enough for my quite frankly gorgeous fuller figure. This shop, another famous one, they said their large equated to a 12. And the next shop, it gets worse, the next shop said that their large equated to a UK size 10. I'm just putting it out there, did the research. Also, I can be a model, just a plus-size model, but apparently I was too old and too short, like Danny DeVito. This is me in my wildcard day. This is me as I think I ought to dress. If I am expressing who I am on the inside, that's me. Turns out I'm blonde. I loved this day because, I mean, why the hell not? My commute to work at King's Cross. And also had a fashion epiphany. Every outfit made better by a pink dog in a tutu. Every single one of them. I loved that day because why not? If we have a body, why not enjoy it and celebrate it, no matter how it looks? And also, I love dogs. Really do love dogs. So yes, I had this wonderful experience, this wonderful day, and I created this show out of it. And it made me realise that I might not love my body, but I do have to respect it because, let's face it, it's the only one I'm going to get. This week was an amazing week, and I had lots of experiences with these different bodies, but it isn't. Those aren't my bodies. This is my body. I need to enjoy it and celebrate it. I'm still on that journey of trying to enjoy it and celebrating it. And I realised that with fashion, I still struggle with that as well. I took this show on tour to Australia. It did really well out there. It did well in the UK, sold out in the UK. That's me on a beach because everybody's beach perfect, beach body ready. Beach perfect, I mean, perfectly imperfect is my catchphrase. Can body image problems affect our mental health? I've done stuff for Tomorrow's World, stuff for the BBC. Have a little look on my website if you like. I've also written for Cosmopolitan. I've been in Cosmo as a writer with a voice, looking for a man. damn it, I missed the point. Yes, I also appeared in Cosmo completely butt naked. Because this is not photoshopped. This was for one of those, Cosmopolitan does this thing where they do photo shoots where they don't Photoshop any of the imperfections. They're beautiful. All of these imperfections, they tell the story of me, my loose skin on my arms, my tummy, other bits of my body that I won't show you. All of that tells the story of me and reminds me how far I've come, the journey I've been on. If I can't love it, maybe I can at least respect it because it's still wanting me to survive. We'll get back onto that later. Now, kindness for me is what I think beauty is. Beauty to me is kindness. Some people think it's symmetry is beauty. Some people think maybe difference or being moved by something. I think it's kindness. The kindest people that I know are the most beautiful, the most graceful people. And since we are doing Action for Happiness, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my experience of kindness, because this show focused on that. So I set out last year to try to be a bit kinder to myself, because I don't know if you can tell, but I don't really like myself. Oh my goodness, a comedian who doesn't like herself. Oh, it's so shocking. And a woman. So also I do awkward things. I do so many awkward things. I'm such an awkward person. Like I'm the kind of girl who I went to see this amazing comedian recently, Desiree Birch. Have you heard of her? I love that over here, we're like, yeah! And then over here, we're like, no, get in touch. Go watch her together. Connect. She's brilliant. She's amazing. She's an American comedian. She's been on TV and stuff. I went to see her at the Soho Theatre, and I wanted to thank her for an amazing show afterwards, right? But instead of going up to Desiree Birch and saying, thanks for a great show, I went up to TV's Desiree Birch and said, thanks for coming. And I immediately started to apologise, because that's the awkward kind of girl I am. And she said, oh, hey, don't you worry about it. You said it because you're a comedian. And now you're apologising because you're British. And she's right, I am very British, and I'm very, very sorry for that. So yes, I'm a very awkward person, and I struggle to be kind to myself, even in those moments where I have a little fumble, a little awkward moment. And I struggle to forgive myself. So I went back to my therapist last year. I had this really hard year. It was a really tough year. It was, oh God, the highlights of my year included that my fiance and I broke up, mentioned that. My aunt was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I love her as well. My dad, he had a major health scare. Then my dog died. I know, just like you, I was much more upset about the dog. Love dogs. So yes, I went to my therapist and said, hey, therapist, because I can't legally say her name, Jackie Jackie Schickler, I'm telling you that because I will give you her phone number, not because I think you need it after seeing me perform, but because you have to hear her voicemail. Hello, this is the Cambridge Counselling Centre, Jackie Schickler speaking. Anyway, it's wonderful. Anyway, yes, I went back to Jackie and said, hey, Jackie, how do I get through this tough time? And she said, Juliette, I'm not going to do the voice. Juliette, I suggest, firstly, to open up about all your experiences. And I'm like, well, I do that on stage already. Okay. Job done. Also, you can write it all down in your notepad. That is why I always carry around a notepad. Always, always, always have one with me. And if ever you want to get me a gift, by the way, lovely people, notepads, pens, or pants. Always running out of all three. And if you go for the latter option, by the way, I like my pants like I like my men. Big, clean, and mainly on this part of my body. But never, ever riding up my arse. Did you see? What I was thinking in my head was, oh, they were laughing at that. Should I go? I think I'll do it. Oh, my kind of people. So yes, Jackie said to write stuff down in your notepad, which I did. And I said, okay, job done, tick. And then she said, Juliette, you need to be kind to yourself. Show yourself some self-love. So I quickly pulled up my trousers and realized that wasn't what she meant. And then I decided to take myself out on some dates, okay? I took myself out on dates in London. It's a brilliant thing to do. Take yourself out on dates in London. I highly recommend it. I took myself out on some dates. It didn't go brilliantly to begin with. I walked into a bar with my date. me, right? That's very important you understand this. Walked into a bar, ordered both me and my date a drink each. We downed them pretty quickly, so I ordered another round. And when my date offered to pay, I said, hey, no girl of mine is ever going to pay for a thing. So I called myself a misogynist and slapped myself. And then I called myself a raving feminazi, so I started feeling myself up, and then I stormed out. Very good date. After a few bad dates, I searched harder on the Tinder of my mind, and I found a better version of me and started to date her. And actually, things went really well. Yeah, pretty soon we're going to move in together. It's going to be so easy because all of my stuff's already there. So yes, I have tried to be kind to myself, but I realise I find it really, really hard. So instead of focusing on being kind to myself, which I still struggle with doing, I'm still working on that in therapy. Even today, I was in therapy today. And I decided to focus on being kind to others, because maybe being kind to others might help me focus on kindness towards me as well. So I started out doing really small acts of kindness. Every single day, I challenged myself to do a small act of kindness. So I started off with things like just smiling at strangers, walking around smiling. Turns out, people are rather suspicious of kindness. Like I was in this supermarket one day, and this little old lady came up to me and went, "Excuse me, my dear." She sounds very much like my therapist. "Excuse me, my dear, are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine, thank you, and how are you today?" Kind. "Oh, I'm very well, but I was rather worried about you. I thought you might be smiling so much because you might be unwell. Or American." I also thought I would speak kindly to the people who serve me in shops and restaurants and call them by their names on their name tags. You know, like they always wear those name tags because they're humans too. I've been one of them. We're sort of the same people as humans. And that went really well, actually, calling people by their names. So the names on the name tags I spoke to on one day, I spoke to loads of people. In Costa, I spoke to Andrew. In the ticket office, I spoke to Alan. And in Pret-a-Manger, I spoke to In Training. Interesting name. And I also thought I'd give up my seat for people on public transport, on the tube, on the bus and stuff. We all know we're meant to do that, aren't we? Yes? But I think we also know, as British people, there's quite a few problems with giving up your seat on public transport, aren't there? Like, there was one day, right, where I gave up my seat to two old people who turned out to be 40, and one woman who was definitely not pregnant. So I also tried to compliment strangers. That's something that we can all do, isn't it? Complimenting strangers. And that was really awkward as well. I found my awkwardness radar was just going off the scale. Like complimenting people, firstly, it seems to feel like they feel compelled to give you a compliment in return. Like if I said to you, "Miss, hello. Oh, hello, wakey. Hello, darling. How are you? Are you okay? Good. I just wanted to check that you're still breathing. So if I gave you a compliment like, "You look pretty scared. You look pretty scared, to be honest." Then you might say, "Thank you. That's very polite." Absolutely. Actually, it turns out it's not that difficult to receive a compliment and not give one in return. Well done. So I also found that people seem to focus with compliments on appearance and possessions, you know, like complimenting someone's appearance or possessions. Like I was trying to compliment people, and it was really difficult not to say things like, "Oh, I really like your top. It really matches the colour of your eyes. I really like your skirt. It really suits your figure. Or I really like your bag. It really matches the ones under your eyes." But I thought you guys might be able to do this a bit better than me. So this is one of the challenges I'm going to give you right now. Could you please turn to somebody near you that you don't know and give them a sincere compliment? Go for it. Let's do it. Why not? Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's amazing. Well done, you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. Did anyone get a really good compliment that they really were like, "Oh my goodness, oh, thanks for noticing"? Anyone get any good ones? No, nobody got any good compliments. Well, you can keep that with you. And also, if you are maybe a bit shyer as a person, may I suggest that you could also write down a little compliment and just give it as a little note to somebody in here today, and they can open it up later on. Because this is the one place where that's not creepy. I tried complimenting people, and I actually realised that, even a compliment, even a small act of kindness can have huge effects. You might have felt that lovely little warmth of positivity given to you. That's a little gift. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of some of my favourite moments of kindness in my life. I landed in Australia when I was touring my show out there, so I landed out there. You still don't look impressed. Anyway, I landed in Australia, and when I land out there, I have to call my family to let them know that the big metal bird hasn't crashed into a mountain. So I called up my mum and said, "Hey, Mum, I'm still alive." And she said, "Oh, that's nice, dear. Well done." Well, dear, what can I tell you? Your nephews are well. The first lambs have been born on the farm. And, oh, by the way, dear, we're very angry at you. Now, my family are very stoic. They don't open up. They don't show their emotions. They don't express themselves. I love them to pieces, but that's just not what they do. They're British. That's not what we British people do, apparently. And so they were expressing an emotion, at least for the first time ever. I just wish it wasn't anger at me. But apparently, the reason she was angry was because, well, they were all angry. Last year, when I was struggling, I wrote everything down. I wrote in my notepad, and I wrote that show about kindness. Now, I also wrote an article, and it was an article about aunts, and how amazing aunts are, and how if I am a good aunt to my 4 nephews, then it's only because I've learnt it from my aunt, the one that I mentioned earlier, who was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I mentioned the name of this terminal illness in this article, and it was published online. And I said how wonderful she was, how I wanted to be just like her, all that stuff. Now, my Twitter followers, people on Facebook and stuff, they got in touch and said, "Oh, Juliette, thank you. I've been through that illness," or I've lost someone to that illness. I know someone who's going through that illness. Thank you. I feel less alone for you being open about it. The family I have made for myself, they got it and they got me. However, my actual family felt differently. They were furious, which is totally understandable. And when it hit me, I was like, well, I shouldn't expect them to adhere to my openness. Like, that's not them. I can't change them. I can only change myself. I've made a huge mistake, and it wasn't very kind. "Oh, God, I'm so sorry," I said to my mum on the phone. I'm so sorry. I should never have done that. I will ask the editor to take it down offline immediately. I'm so sorry. I love you. I'll see you when I get back from tour. And I hung up the phone. And I started to have one of those moments, one of those meltdown moments, You've had them, I just started bawling my eyes out, and mascara everywhere, and snot everywhere as well. It was so attractive. And I started messaging my friends on my phone, because I didn't know anyone in Australia. I was on the other side of the world to everyone I knew and loved. So I started messaging my friends over here on WhatsApp and Tinder and Grindr. I'm on Grindr. And I walked up in this state up to these roadworks, right? And this builder shouted at me and goes, "Oh, Heidi! Get your face out of that phone. That's how accidents happen." And can you tell me the way to the South African embassy? Because I'm quite clearly very lost. Now, I turned around and screamed into this guy's face and said, "Stop shouting at me! You don't know me! My aunt is dying, my dog is dead, and my dad is still alive!" And then I ran away. And then I stopped and thought, what kind of girl do I want to be? Well, I'm the kind of girl who has to believe in the power of being kind. So I forced myself to turn around and walk straight back up to this builder. And I said, "I'm so sorry. It was really wrong of me to shout at you. It wasn't good of me. I'm so sorry. It's just that those things are happening, and I'm on the other side of the world from everyone I know and love, and I don't really know anyone over here, and I'm really struggling to cope, and it's not really about the dog either. My dad gave me that dog, and I really love my dad, and he's not been well, and I'm my aunt. I just don't know what I'm doing. Why am I even doing this tour? It's really hot out here." I'm sorry, I haven't spoken to my therapist in a really long time. And this builder turns to me and says, in a really clear-cut Australian accent. Oh, hey there. Don't you worry about it, you bloody pom. Now listen here, it sounds like you're going through what we colloquially over here, we call it the shitter, okay? It's a very technical term. Now, I actually have been through the shitter myself. I've been through something very similar, very recently actually. Last year, I lost my dad. Like he died. I didn't just lose him at a Barbie. I do get quite drunk at those. Where is my accent going? It's getting worse. Also, not only did my dad pass away, but also my two dogs, they both died last month. Yep, Dingo and Bouncer. It was a real shame when I reversed over them in my ute. It was a real tragedy for the whole of Ramsay Street. Now listen here, my love, no matter where you are in the world, okay, no matter whether you're home or away, favourite joke in the whole thing, you, just remember this, you are never alone. Bonza, mate. Now, I had to stop myself from doing what I wanted to do, which was throw my arms around this guy and cry into his fluorescent jacket and tell him I loved him. That's too open. No, shouldn't be open. Should be British and stoic. And so I said, thank you very much. That's very kind. And I went in for a very British handshake. And I misjudged it. And I accidentally touched him down under. But it's okay, because I styled out by saying, hey, thanks for coming. I didn't say that. I didn't. So yes, that kind builder, he had no idea what a huge effect he had on me in that moment. And I didn't know back in 2012 when I was at the Edinburgh Fringe with one of my first ever shows up there. It was a show about finding love. And I flyer my shows up in Edinburgh. Has anyone here been to the Edinburgh Fringe? Give me a cheer. Yeah. I love it. I said, give me a cheer. And you still, from Cambridge, hands up, miss. Okay, good. I have got a backup plan for a career. Thank you. So yes, I love Edinburgh Fringe. You'll know that people flyer you at the Edinburgh Fringe, don't they? They give you flyers. Has anyone been down the Royal Mile? You know, it's like you're being bombarded with people. You have to take a flamethrower to get through there sometimes. It's really, I love flyering. I love flyering. Even though my shows have sold out, I still love meeting people and chatting to them and enthusing to them because, to be honest, I feel alone most of the time. And when I'm chatting to people and flyering them, it is a chance for me to feel connected. And also, I handpick my audiences. You guys are all welcome. I have vetted you. So yeah, when I chat to people, I like to recommend other shows. I like to recommend restaurants and stuff because I used to live in Edinburgh. I met this guy in 2012, right? And he came to see my show the next day. And then he came to see my show the following year as well. Take notes. And he told me that following year that the first day I met him, when I flyered him, that day, he had been planning on committing suicide. Now, the reason was he had been battling through cancer. He'd been going through a really messy divorce. He was convinced he was going to lose his 3 children, and he'd had enough. He'd gone to the Edinburgh Fringe for one final hurrah, and he'd made his plans, and that was going to be it. And he said that the way that I chatted to him that day, when I handed him that flyer, felt to him like the first act of kindness anyone had shown him in a really long time. So then he said, in his words, he felt obligated to come see the show. That's how I get them. I guilt trip them into it. And then he said that he found the show so uplifting, he changed his mind. I mean, that's got to be better than any 5-star review or a comedy award, isn't it? I mean, I'm not going to turn down a 5-star review or a comedy award. It's just they're much easier to fit on my posters than his life story. Now, he comes to see my shows every year. He came over to Adelaide to see me. He fell in love with someone in Adelaide. He goes regularly over there. He's wonderful. I love him to pieces. And he's still battling cancer, but he's winning. Oh, he's wonderful. So you never know. A small act of kindness might have a huge effect. And though we're going to come back to your dares of kindness, those kindness dares, in a second. You all have those pieces of paper that we gave you on the way in. Yeah? Some of you do, some of you don't. Have a little read of them, get you some ideas. I'm going to prove to you that I'm not just preaching. I went out there and I asked people on Twitter and Facebook, what kind acts do you want me to do? I should go out there and do it. And I went out with hidden cameras once again, and I tried to do some kind acts. If my clicker would be kind enough to work, that would be lovely.
I was looking at you earlier. I really love your hair. I thought it was really, really cool. You were with a lady with an orange top, weren't you? Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Now, this is a hit and run compliment. because it's terrifying to compliment someone and then wait for their answer. It's super awkward, isn't it? So I ran away. I realised, though, that to feel the full effects, the positivity, you have to stick around and push through the awkwardness. Okay, so here we go. Next compliment.
Excuse me, you work for Network Rail?
I do.
Can I just say thank you? Because you do actually do the rail, like the works on the. I don't know what's the word? Do you do? Infrastructure. I travel on the train all the time, and I don't think you guys get enough credit. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for making it happen.
Thank you. That's really, really nice of you.
That's okay.
No one's ever done that before.
Well, may I shake your hand?
Thank you. I'm Alex.
Juliette.
Juliette. Well, thank you, Juliette.
No worries.
Have a fantastic day. And
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
You too.
Very, very kind.
Go on, take care.
Bye.
I didn't get his phone number. Next one, here we go. Here we go.
Sorry, can I just say, I was admiring your dress. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you look very, very. Are you going somewhere special or?
Bean.
Oh, Bean. Oh, where did you go?
We were at Westminster Abbey yesterday for the service.
Oh wow! What was the service?
Florence Nightingale commemoration service.
Oh wow! Are you guys nurses then? Yeah. My mum was a nurse as well. So yeah. Where did you nurse?
Up in Hull.
Up in Hull, right? Oh, so you came all the way down here. Oh, amazing! I love York. York's one of my favourite places. Going there in July. What specialism did you guys do in? No way! That's what my shows are about. I best leave you. I was just complimenting your dress, and it led to that. So nice to meet you. Take care.
So, in case you missed that, they are mental health nurses. They're following me around now. Okay, next one, here we go.
He's so adorable. What's his name?
He's Crumpet. He's such a magnet. Like, whenever I take him anywhere, like, people like flock to him.
He's so lovely. Well done you for taking such good care of him.
He's actually my parents, but I'm taking him up to Scotland.
But he's been staying with you?
He's been staying with me, yeah.
Oh, well, still, well done for
looking after him,
you haven't killed him, so that's
exactly.
really well done.
Very impressive.
Bye, Crumpet. Bye, Crumpet.
So my compliment there was well done for not killing the dog. Okay, next one. Here we go. This is the information.
Sorry, I just wanted to say thank you for doing such a great job. I've seen that you've been talking to a lot of people. I just think you're being really lovely to them. So thank you. Thank you very much.
I just want to, how do you notice me?
Oh, because I was watching you. I'm waiting for a train, and I just thought you were doing such a lovely job and being so kind to people.
It's good to send whenever you have time, or if you got Twitter.
I will do.
If you got Twitter.
Yes, I do.
Just make a comment on Twitter. I'm Chris Nellan.
Chris Nellan. Can I see the name so I can spell it right? Chris Nellan. Perfect. Thank you, Chris.
God bless you, my darling. Love you. No, it's good to have this good energy.
Oh, thank you.
We are all one in God.
Yes, we are.
Hallelujah. God bless you.
Oh, God bless you.
Look at my stupid little grinning face. So I went away and I actually did fill out that feedback form that he very subtly gave me there. Did you notice that? But I actually did fill that out and I sent it off. I actually did it. You know, I never normally do that, and I did it. And I got a reply from Virgin Trains, from the King's Cross people, and they sent this actual reply. Okay. Dear Miss Burton, thank you for your email received 24th of May 2017. I'm really pleased to hear that you're happy with the service provided by Chris. It's great to hear that we're getting it right. Here at Virgin Trains East Coast, we're very proud of our people. It's great to know that Kevin is an example of this. You don't get it all right, do you, Virgin? No. Next one. Here we go.
Excuse me. I just wanted to say thank you for doing
You're most welcome. That's
police
fine.
work.
Thank you very much.
Because I'm not looking after the streets.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I would like to offer you a flower, but if you're on duty,
Yeah,
then...
well, I'm just about to. This is my wife, so we're just.
I can give you a flower. Oh, no, it's so kind. No. There you go.
Go with your dress.
They're not mine. I'm looking for people who might appreciate them. So as
What we do. Thank you very much.
yeah, what do you do?
I work in research.
Well, thank you for researching. Thank you for keeping
In mental health.
In mental health. No worries.
Next one.
I'd just like like to say thank you for keeping everything so clean.
Oh my God, God bless you, baby. Thank you very
Well,
much.
I don't think you get enough credits, and I'm not cleaning it up,
Yeah.
so thank you. Would you like a flower?
For me?
Yeah, for you. With no ulterior motive, just to make your day better.
Thank you very much, darling.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
You
Thank
look
you
a
very
little.
much.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Thank you very much, darling.
Oh.
God bless
Well, thank
you.
you for keeping it all so wonderful. Doing a brilliant job.
Okay, just to reassure you, that is not the bin. Okay, next one. Other people on Twitter, they dared me to do this really cool thing where you put post-it notes in books and bookshops saying things like, well done for reaching the end, you can read. And how suspicious do I look, by the way? And then I saw in this bookshop, this is just down the road near Euston, and I saw 3 books that I have read all about mental health. And they are Mad Girl by Bryony Gordon, which is an amazing book about living with OCD and anxiety. When anxiety attacks, guess what that's about? And then there's also a book that you can't quite see, which is a cartoon book called Living with a Black Dog, which is all about what it's like living with depression. And they're all brilliant. On these post-it notes, I wrote things like, from one mental health survivor to another, you're not alone, it does get better. Kiss, 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 because I really like them. And then another person on Twitter dared me to put post-it notes on public bathroom mirrors with compliments on them. Things like, you're beautiful no matter what your inner voices tell you. Your beauty is beyond what you see. Those sorts of things. And given my history of eating disorders and body image issues, this really meant so much to me. So I went in and put them up in King's Cross. I went back in later, and they'd been taken down. Aww. So I put more up! Because sometimes being kind means breaking the rules, and I really broke the rules when I went into the men's toilets. And I saw that policeman from earlier. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is my new show, which I'll come on to in a second, but do you have those pieces of paper that we gave you on the way in that I alerted you to a minute ago? With those dares to be kind? Has anyone not got a piece of paper with a suggestion? Oh, look at all that. We've got my friend Fabian, is going to help you? You can pass this blue bowl around. If there's anyone who has written a dare, if anyone isn't aware of what this idea is, this tour that I did of my previous show, Butterfly Effect, I did a tour around the UK. I did it in Edinburgh in 2017 and 2018. I asked my audiences to write down a dare to be kind. So a small idea for some way that somebody could be kind to a complete stranger. They then gave them to me in this bowl, and then at the next show, I would pass those dares out. So it would be like Manchester was daring Nottingham, and Nottingham would dare Leeds, and Leeds would dare Brighton. Yes, in my head, it was like a Mexican wave of kindness across the country, because we need more kindness in the world, and this is just a great excuse. An idea to give you a little push to, yes, go out there, do something a bit creative and a bit kind, push your boundaries, make a new friend, who knows, make connections. And the idea with the Twitter handle, which I asked you for, was that you could tweet me or the person who dared you. So some of you might have a Twitter address of the person who's written that tweet originally, the dare originally, and you can tweet them and say, oh, hey, I did your dare, and it went like this. And that happened in Edinburgh a couple of times, and people connected and they started going to see shows together. It was really lovely. Anyway, I love my audiences. I have really quite introverted audiences, like yourselves, who kind of put up their hands and do that instead of kind of cheering and whooping. They're not very raucous audiences, my audiences, but I love that. Like, they're my people. They're my followers. You know, I love the introverts. They are my people. It's like I'm like Moses, and do you remember that time that I went up to the Red Sea and I was standing there and I parted it and I turned around and there was nobody there because they'd all stayed home. Introverts. So yes, I want you to go out and do these dares. Has anyone got a good one? Anyone got one that they're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to do this? Anyone? No. Has anyone got one where they're like, nah, I'm not going to do this. I don't think I need to swap with somebody. Anyone got one of them? You've got a good one over here.
You love.
Sorry? Give someone a book you love. That's lovely. That's a brilliant one. What book are you going to give them, Mark?
A book called The Choice, about a lady who was in Auschwitz and had an amazing life transformation and became a kind of guide. It's really inspiring, amazing.
Brilliant, wonderful. Well, do take those away and tweet me as well. Tweet me, Facebook me, tell me how you get on with your dares, please, because I love this. I love hearing how people get on, because kindness is beauty. You're the most beautiful people because you get to be kind. This is my new show that I'm doing. It's called Defined, and it's all about trying to figure out identity. All of my shows have been about an aspect of identity, and for me, I'm focusing on kind of these ideas of binary choices, because in my life, I've gone to extremes a lot. You know, it's like masculine or feminine, success or failure, or mentally ill, mentally healthy, pessimist, optimist. And I think that we're looking at people two-dimensionally, a lot like my flyers. Like, people are not a flyer. People are not two-dimensional. We are three-dimensional people. There's so much more to us. You know, if you picked up this box that is us, and it says, like, ill, if you're mentally ill, then turn it around. On the other side, you're also empathetic, you're strong, you've learned a lot. If you consider yourself maybe a failure, well, you've also grown, you've got new knowledge. You know, there's different aspects of these two-dimensional things. If you're an optimist, to me, that makes you a survivor. It means that you work hard at it, because optimism is difficult sometimes. And if you're a pessimist, that means that you're a miserable git. So that's what this show is all about how much of a miserable git I am. I love that, and I'm excited. And if you want to come see me perform it, then I've got some shows in London that I'll mention later on. So back to these ideas of we've got one body, we've got one life, and you've only got one, so why not just enjoy it and live it? And this idea of perfection that we see surrounding us, that doesn't even exist. That's not real. None of those images that we pass that affect our body image and our consciousness, they're not even actually what's real out there. That's a two-dimensional thing, not a three-dimensional person. Our bodies are incredible. No matter whether we're trying to kill them or whether we're trying to keep them alive, they are staying alive. They're surviving. Did you know that your body, it's regenerating? I burnt myself. Have you noticed that? I burnt myself. That was Easter Sunday. I burnt myself. My body is regenerated. I'm like Doctor Who. I mean, Jodie Whittaker was a smart choice, but I went method. Babies. Did you know babies dream before they're even born? Isn't that amazing? We're blinking without even thinking about it. We're breathing without even thinking about it. I'm not actually breathing right now, but that's beside the point. I think our bodies are incredible, because my body, as much as I've tested it and pushed it to the extremes, it has fought to keep me alive. So the greatest gift I can give it is to give back. And that's what I believe kindness is. We can do so much with our lives. So yes, please remember that. Remember how amazing and awesome not only your bodies, but also you and your intentions are. The fact you're here tonight at this particular event means that you are probably quite a lovely person, in my humble opinion. That's just another picture of me naked, because why not? Yes, please do follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can look at my videos on YouTube. I'm going to be performing my new show, Defined, on 13th of July at Museum of Comedy in London. Have you heard of London? And the 31st of July to the 25th of August at the Edinburgh Fringe. And all the tickets are on sale now. I would love for you to join me. You've been incredible. Thank you so much, firstly, for those 5 words you gave me earlier. Because on these dating apps, they ask you, on one of the dating apps I'm on, they ask you, define yourself in 5 words or less. And I wrote, it's 5 words or fewer. Could have just used one word, pedant. But now I can use your words. I will put on the dating apps that I am pink, sparkly, quirky, funny, and loud. Let's see how much luck I get with the men in that case. Thank you so much. I've been Juliette Burton, and please welcome back Mark.
Wow. Am I on? Can you hear me? Great. Juliette, thank you so much.
That's okay.
Amazing. That was
Thank
like
you.
a beautiful combination of humour, but really insightful, heartfelt story and personal stuff. And we're going to have some time for questions now. We've got till past, and you can ask Juliette anything. I wanted to abuse my privilege on stage and start by just asking your perspective on something that I think you're kind of at the vanguard of, which is this whole revolution in our being able to talk about mental health stuff. We were here in Mental Health Awareness Week. You've just done a brilliant example of humour and entertainment mixed with some really stuff we don't talk about very clearly and openly and as much as we should. But it's been really encouraging to see the Royals, to see stuff. I saw a thing last week where there was Gareth Southgate, the England football manager, and a bunch of well-known men sitting in a football changing room talking about mental health being filmed for the BBC. And that wouldn't have happened even maybe 5 years ago. The world feels like it's changing.
Yeah.
But what's your perspective on that being you've been out there on the vanguard of talking about stuff that hasn't been talked about, you know, and that's amazing. But what's your sense of how we're changing culture and what difference this is making? You know?
I mean, I love the word vanguard. I hadn't heard it for months, and suddenly I've
Well,
heard
in
it twice.
Cambridge, we use that a lot. Yeah.
Vanguard. My perspective on what's happening at the moment, I think that we're so much more comfortable than ever before discussing mental health. I think in certain areas, there's certain other parts of the country where it's still, I think it's not spoken about that much. I think we're breaking down barriers. The awareness is raising, and that's fantastic, and that needs to continue. But real change also needs to follow. And I would love to see real change in legislation, in the rights of people who are sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and also in early intervention, in education, providing schools the resources to equip children to manage their mental well-being. Because we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. And it baffles me how people think that they're completely different and separate things, when if you have a mental illness, then you can also have you can have a physical illness, like you have physical well-being. You can have a period of ill physical health. You can have a period of ill mental health. You can have a longer period of ill physical health, which becomes a condition. That's the same for mental health and illness as well. And if it becomes a disorder, then that's something that you learn how to live with. And we can all do things to help manage our mental health, just like we can do things to help our physical health on a day-to-day basis. And yet we seem to want to keep these things so separate. So yes, whilst I think awareness is raising and stuff like this is brilliant because we're talking about it more, next step is to actually demand change and real change.
Well said, thank you. So we've got some microphones, folks. I'm sure you've been intrigued and thought-provoked and various other things. Would anyone... Oh, and the lights are even coming up. That's lovely. Would anyone like to ask or say anything in response to this wonderful, thought-provoking evening, or ask a question? A gentleman in the front here. So can we bring a microphone down here? And any more hands? And then Andy over here, and then back to someone over there as well.
Would you do me the honour of telling me your name before you speak and ask questions? Because I feel very awkward that I don't know if I mentioned I feel awkward. But you know my name and I don't know yours.
No, my name's Martin.
Hello, Martin.
And I'd just like to say thank you very much for making yourself potentially vulnerable, talking about a subject that is really difficult. Sometimes people just don't want to hear the word mental. And I think you're very right in saying, why do we have to have that difference between health? Why does it have to be physical health? Why does it have to be mental health? Why can't it just be health? You know, because realistically, you know, we all have those difficulties. I have a mental health disorder, and then you got that word at the end of it, disorder. Actually, what I like to say is I'm just differently abled. I think it's a much better way of looking at it. But I think it's interesting, really, is that people only see that last word, disordered. You know, and the truth is, yes, there are times in my life when I am disordered, but also there's many, many, many times when I'm quite able and quite comfortable and able to do these things, but somehow that disorder just sticks. We don't tend to see the other side of that individual. And you've been living proof that despite your difficulties that you have, you can actually get up on stage and do all these wonderful things and talk about it. And it's just so much appreciated.
Thank you.
So I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to say that you firstly amazing, and I love the fact that you felt open enough to say that. That's the utopian dream of being able to just be open and not feel you have to hide or feel ashamed. I often get people say to me, "Oh, that was very brave," after my shows. I'm like, I know they're trying to give me a compliment, but it's the inference there is that I should be scared. And there's nothing I feel scared about talking about it, but I'm aware that that isn't common for everybody. So I, years ago, realised that if I wanted to talk about my mental health and my mental illnesses, I needed to sometimes be brave enough to offer more information, and then that might encourage people to ask questions. And I also feel that, it sounds similar to you, that I feel I am who I am, both in spite of and because of my mental health conditions and my mental health experiences. And they might have gone to extremes in the past, but can I also thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I had therapy today. And
which sort of accent was it with?
so that's the one thing I need to sort this out, because in my this is new stuff. So last year my aunt died, dog died, dad had a health scare, fiance and I broke up. One of my best friends died in January this year.
Wow.
Then I thought, do you know what? I'll call my therapist. My therapist died.
Oh no.
Oh.
Selfish. No, I mean, she was like family. She's better than family because I actually could be myself with her in lots of ways I can't with my friends or my family. I mean, I know I had to pay her for the privilege of that. But you guys are wonderful because you're here and I don't have to pay you to talk for an hour. No, comedy is not therapy. But yeah, I've got a new therapist now, and I've realised that finding a new therapist is a lot like dating. Because you search on the internet and then you call them up and you see if there's a rapport and then you go meet them for the first time. And I did that a couple of times with a couple of therapists and I was like, no, I don't know, this is not working for me. And I found one that I really like, and I've seen her now 4 times, and today it occurred to me that she reminds me of Jackie, my old therapist. Oh. So I've got a rebound therapist. But she said to me, like, when I start talking about my performances, because I was talking about coming here tonight, and she said I look alive, like I suddenly become like this other me, and you do that for me. Everything that I've been through, and comedy is wonderful for me. I love finding the light. It's a survival technique to find the laughter. But then sharing it with you guys and hearing you laugh and feeling connected, it's amazing, and it gets me out of bed in the morning. And it makes me want to deal with, like, there's a lot of effort that I put in every day with all these managing these different conditions and disorders, and my anorexia minx, and my bulimic minx, and my compulsive overeating, and my depression, and my anxiety. It's this wonderful little cast of so fun characters. And I have to kind of constantly have conversations with them and trying to just calm them down. It's all worth it because I know that you guys are going to be there. And that sounds so cheesy, but it's really true. And this year's been a really difficult one, and it continues to be. But I also think that the more you break somebody, the more they mend stronger. I don't think I'm not going to say that's for anyone else, but in my experience so far, yeah. Apart from my face, please don't break my face.
I suppose, can I just add, I always think of that song by, is it Chubbawamba, Tub Thumping?
Yeah, it's on my playlist right now!
And that line that goes, I get knocked down, but I get up again. And I think I've been knocked down so many times. In my life. And I don't really like the word survivor because it doesn't seem very romantic or flattering. But the truth is, most people who have and live with mental health are incredible people. And they're incredible survivors. You know, and in my journey, in my life, I lost my voice, I lost my identity, I lost who the hell I was, but I now go back and work in mental health. I'm labelled as an expert by experience, and I've now found my voice again. People are willing to listen to me, people appreciate me, people are very thankful that I do what I do.
And that's something I think I've seen so many times in this world, which is people who've been through quite a serious lived experience and then just want to help others. And it's so lovely to see that spirit of kindness is actually so common. Thank you so much for what you've shared. I really, really appreciated it. And if you didn't hear with the microphone, the Chumbawamba reference was that line of, I get knocked down, but I get up again, which I think is a lovely example. And there was a question, I think Andy here had, is there a microphone there? And then there was somebody towards the back over here.
You can ask me anything. I will even where my shoes are from. The trousers were in a sale.
Do you want to go first over there? Or where was the other person?
Hi, my name's Andy.
Hi,
Andy. I started thinking quite frivolously, but it occurred to me, like, you showed the 3 pictures of you in the different body sizes, and then you were referring to dating online. And I'm someone who's spent some decades experiencing some of the conditions that you've described and dealing with them to try and get to better places. And I was just thinking that if you, say, get into a serious situation and you meet somebody, and I'm just saying this as an example, and somebody like you said, oh, this is my past, I used to look like that, that, and that, somebody might think, oh, I liked you like that, or I wouldn't like you like that. Do you find that the more progress you make, so you're in a better place to stand a better chance of flourishing a relationship, but then there's the person needs to know about your past or more about you, but they don't quite believe it because you're in such a good place now. And there's that conflict about breaking yourself down so that they know the truth and so that they know what might happen so that they can support you in the future, versus liking the myth of today, because today's really good when I met this person.
Right. So, because I've been doing a lot of research on the dates. I've had people, not dates, but people come up to me after my shows and say, but how can you be ill? You don't look ill. You don't look rude, but here we are. Now that hasn't happened on dates, but I do, like, I play this fun game. I think it's fun, and the other players don't. On dates where I'll be like, I won't like bulldoze in first thing with, "Hi, my name's Juliette. I was sectioned on the Mental Health Act when I was 17." But I do happily wear it out there on my sleeve, and I will mention it on a first date because I feel it sorts the wheat from the chaff. Farming reference, I did listen to my family. I've done that on these dates, and sometimes I don't hear from them again. I can only assume it's because of the mental health stigma, not because of... No, I mean, but if whatever reason, like if I don't hear from them again, I'm kind of glad. They were never going to be the right person for me anyway. And I've been dating, there's one particular chap I've been dating, and we've now got to that stage where he's seen me on days when I've struggled. And that's when it becomes a learning process for both of us. But then I hope that it's a gift, that at least we have the language to talk about it. Because before being diagnosed with all these things and before going through all this therapy, I didn't have that insight and I didn't have that language. And the stuff I've learned in therapy isn't just exclusive to my conditions, it's just good for relationships with humans in general and myself. My ex-fiancé, we're still friends, and he recently said that he felt that we were together 7 years, and he said that his emotional intelligence had grown throughout that relationship. And I was like, well, it's because I've been given the therapy. So what I'm trying to say is, I also don't think it's a myth. You said it's the myth of today. Today is absolutely not a myth. Who I am right here, right now is, even I've got sparkles on. I've got my spark. When the going gets tough, the tough get sparkly. I love wearing glitter. It helps me get on stage. It helps me feel like the right showtime. And that's kind of something that I take with me through life. Like that isn't a fakeness. This is helping me be as authentic as I can be right now. And therefore, the myth of today, it's not a myth. It is real. It's just being able to marry up that duality of that and the me that maybe might have cried in therapy earlier today. And that those two me's are one and the same thing. I can be all of that at once. And I think that when it comes to dating, anyone, whether you've got mental illness or not, it's a learning process. And it's just a gift if you find somebody who's willing to put their effort in, because I am a lot of hard work.
And by the way, that goes on beyond dating into lifelong relationships. All of what you said should be true of marriage and friendship and all these other things as well.
Let's not talk about marriage. Does anyone want to buy a wedding dress? If only I were joking. No, it's good. It's a very pretty wedding dress. I'm going to take it up to Edinburgh Fringe and do a sealed bid.
Amazing. Very good. There was a gentleman very patiently waiting over here, so I'll hand over to him.
How do I put this? Yes, my name is Gabriel.
How do I put this? My name is Gabriel. Excellent. God, that was really difficult for you to say that, Gabriel.
I found your show to be very relatable because, over the course of the last year or so, I've been discovering a lot about myself in regards to sort of who I am as a person, where I stand sort of mentally. The last last year I discovered that I land on the autistic spectrum, which was weird for me because my entire life I thought I was just weird, and then it suddenly all made sense. And then earlier, a few months back actually, I discovered that I was asexual, and that was weird because, again, everything suddenly started to make sense. But the problem was it made sense, but I also realized that, like, oh, there's so much stigma around it. Like, there's so much stigma around autism, and that in general, that's a whole other topic. But then there's so much stigma around asexuality, the idea that, you know, you just so many things. And I don't know, just the way that you deal with people having these preconceptions and the way you sort of take that in your stride, I found that to be quite inspirational.
Thank you. Yeah, amazing for you, by the way.
Yeah,
So that's something, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's something that I'm thinking about a lot with my new show, the Defined one. It baffles me again how people don't see the similarities and don't look for the similarities, not the differences. Like, labels can hinder sometimes, but they can also help sometimes. Like, being given that language. When I was diagnosed with depression, I was like, oh, I have depression. I'm not just really, really sad for no reason. It gives you language, and I've heard from I've got transgender friends and people who identify neither as male nor female, and that's not my story, but it baffles me how I can understand that, you know, you're neither introvert nor extrovert, you're somewhere in between. Like, quite a lot of the guys that I've gone on dates with have been like, oh, but how can you do such an extroverted job when you're such an introvert, and you get your energy from being alone? I'm like, well, I can be both of those things. It's not an either or option. I don't see how people don't make those leaps of, like, those connections of, well, if you're neither an optimist nor a pessimist, you can be somewhere on the spectrum, then maybe other things can relate to that. Yeah, and congratulations on your journey. Like, that's incredible. This is like a new era of your life. You've been reborn. God, it's turning into church.
Thank you for all of you for the questions. I'm afraid we've pretty much run out of time. I'm sure Juliette would be happy to have a couple of conversations after the event, if anyone did want to stick around, and certainly others here would be. And there's lots of wonderful ways you can find out more. She's brought a brilliant table of lovely things about her work and lovely badges and other things that you might want to, I encourage you to check out. But in a moment, I've got one final announcement to make. But please, before we do anything else, please join me in giving another huge thank you to Juliette this evening.
Thank you.